What if the secret to a longer, healthier, more vibrant life has been sitting on the tables of Italian grandmothers for centuries? Italy has some of the longest living populations on Earth, including communities in Sardinia, home to more centenarians per capita than almost anywhere else in the world, and the foods those communities eat every day contain some of the most potent anti-aging compounds science has ever identified. Welcome to Evergreen Garden. Today we are covering 20 Italian superfoods scientists say genuinely help reverse the signs of aging. Subscribe and let us get into it. 1. Extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is the foundation of the Mediterranean diet and contains oleocanthal, a compound that inhibits the same anti-inflammatory pathways as ibuprofen, plus dozens of polyphenols that protect DNA from oxidative damage, making it arguably the single most studied anti-aging food in existence. Olive oil has been central to Italian cuisine, medicine, and culture for over 3,000 years. Ancient Roman physicians prescribed it for wound healing, digestive complaints, and skin preservation. The daily olive oil tradition in Sardinian and Calabrian communities, which Blue Zone researchers have studied extensively since the early 2000s, reflects a dietary practice that predates modern nutritional science by millennia. Research published in Annals of Internal Medicine confirmed that participants following a Mediterranean diet with extra virgin olive oil had a 30% reduced risk of major cardiovascular events. Studies from the University of Naples documented that oleocanthal inhibits the same COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes as ibuprofen, reducing the chronic systemic inflammation that drives cellular aging. Use at least 2 tablespoons of high-quality Look for Italian PDO-certified oils from Tuscany, Sicily, or Puglia with a harvest date within the past year. Use for salad dressings, drizzled on cooked vegetables, and to finish soups and pastas. 2. Cooked tomatoes. Cooked tomatoes are more nutritious for anti-aging purposes than raw tomatoes because heat releases lycopene into a far more bioavailable form. And lycopene is one of the most potent antioxidants identified, protecting skin cells, DNA, and cardiovascular tissue from the oxidative damage that drives aging at the cellular level. Tomatoes arrived in Italy from the Americas in the 16th century, before becoming the cornerstone of Italian cooking within 2 centuries. The tradition of slow-cooked tomato sauces and passata, prepared with generous olive oil, is a practice that scientists now understand maximizes the bioavailability of tomatoes' anti-aging compounds dramatically. In southern Italy, summer tomatoes are still traditionally cooked into concentrated conserva that delivers lycopene through winter. Research from Cornell University confirmed that cooking tomatoes in olive oil increases lycopene bioavailability by up to 400% compared to raw tomatoes. Studies in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute documented that high lycopene intake is associated with a 21% reduction in prostate cancer risk. Make slow-cooked tomato sauce with olive oil as the base at least 4 to 5 times per week. Use jarred Italian passata in soups and stews, and cook tomatoes low and slow for maximum lycopene release. 3. Sardines. Sardines provide the highest concentration of long-chain omega-3 fatty acids of any commonly available food, alongside calcium, selenium, and vitamin B12, in a package more affordable and more sustainable than almost any other animal protein, and more nutritionally complete than most fish consumed in the United States. Sardines have been a staple of Italian coastal cooking for centuries, particularly in Sardinia, Sicily, and along the Adriatic coast. The Sardinian practice of eating small, fatty fish multiple times per week is one of the dietary habits most consistently identified in Blue Zone research as a correlate of extreme longevity. Traditional Italian preparations, like sardines in sour and sardine pasta, demonstrate centuries of culinary wisdom about integrating this food into the daily diet. Research in the Journal of the American Heart Association confirmed that regular omega-3 consumption from fish reduces cardiovascular mortality risk by 20%. Studies from Harvard School of Public Health documented that people with the highest omega-3 blood levels live an average of 4.7 years longer than those with the lowest levels. Eat sardines 2 to 3 times per week. Buy bone-in sardines packed in olive oil for maximum calcium and omega-3 content. Toss into pasta, eat on whole grain toast, or mash with lemon and capers as a sandwich filling. 4. Radicchio. Radicchio is the bitter red leafy vegetable that dominates northern Italian cooking and contains some of the highest concentrations of anthocyanins and lactocopacrine of any vegetable. Compounds documented to protect brain cells, reduce inflammation, and inhibit the cellular aging processes that drive cognitive decline in aging populations. Radicchio has been cultivated in the Veneto region since at least the 16th century, becoming the defining ingredient of Treviso and Castelfranco cooking. The broader Italian tradition of eating bitter greens, including chicory, escarole, and dandelion, reflects centuries of intuitive understanding that bitter flavors support liver function and digestive health. Grilling radicchio to soften the bitterness while concentrating sugars is a specifically Italian technique that preserves its polyphenol content. Research from the University of Padua confirmed that radicchio contains among the highest anthocyanin concentrations of any commonly available vegetable, with documented anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective effects. The bitter compounds in chicory family plants also support liver detoxification enzyme activity. Eat radicchio at least twice weekly. Grill or roast halved heads with olive oil and balsamic vinegar. Toss shredded radicchio into winter salads or braise with garlic and olive oil until tender. 5. Artichokes. Artichokes are one of the richest sources of cynarin and silymarin of any commonly eaten vegetable, compounds that support liver detoxification, stimulate bile production, and carry antioxidant activity at levels exceeding most commercial superfoods, making the artichoke a fundamental anti-aging food hiding in plain sight in every Italian market. Artichokes have been cultivated around the Mediterranean for over 3,000 years, with ancient Greek and Roman texts describing their medicinal and culinary use. Italy remains the world's largest producer and consumer of artichokes, and Roman carciofi alla Judea, deep-fried whole artichokes from the Jewish community of Rome dating to the Renaissance, remains a celebrated dish in Roman trattori today. Research in Free Radical Research documented that artichoke extract contains antioxidant activity comparable to standardized vitamin C and E supplements. Studies from the Beaulieu Hospital in France confirmed that artichoke extract supplementation significantly reduces total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol in clinical trials. Eat artichokes at least once per week, either fresh when in season or preserved in olive oil. Steam or braise whole artichokes until tender and dip the leaves in lemon olive oil. 6. Walnuts. Walnuts provide the highest plant-based omega-3 content of any nut, plus ellagic acid and polyphenolic compounds that reduce systemic inflammation, protect cardiovascular tissue, and have been documented to improve cognitive function in aging populations, making them the most potent anti-aging nut in the traditional Italian diet. Walnut cultivation in Italy dates to ancient Rome, where Pliny the Elder described their medicinal properties and agricultural value. The Italian traditions of making salsa di noci, using walnut oil in dressings, and eating walnuts with cheese and honey reflect centuries of integration into the diet. In southern Italian cuisine, walnut paste appears in dozens of regional dishes, from Liguria to Puglia. Research in the Journal of Nutrition confirmed that daily walnut consumption significantly reduces LDL cholesterol, total cholesterol, and inflammatory markers in clinical trials. Studies from UCLA documented that regular walnut consumers scored significantly higher on cognitive function tests than non-walnut eaters. Eat a small handful of walnuts, approximately 7 whole walnuts, every day. Add to oatmeal, yogurt, and salads, or eat alone as a snack. Store in the refrigerator to prevent oxidation. 7. Capers. Capers contain the highest concentration of quercetin of any commonly consumed food on Earth, with a single tablespoon providing more quercetin than a full day of eating apples, onions, and most other quercetin sources, making these tiny Italian flower buds one of the most nutrient-dense anti-aging ingredients in any cuisine. Capers have been harvested from wild caper plants growing on the rocks of Sicilian islands, particularly Pantelleria and Salina, for thousands of years. Ancient Greek and Roman medical writers prescribed capers for digestive complaints, joint pain, and liver conditions. The tradition of salt curing and pickling capers is a specifically Mediterranean preservation technique that concentrates the quercetin content and deepens the flavor. Research in phytomedicine has confirmed that quercetin has documented anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antihistamine, and anti-cancer properties in laboratory and clinical studies. Studies have documented that quercetin inhibits the mTOR aging pathway, one of the primary cellular mechanisms driving biological aging. Add capers to pasta sauces, pizza, salad dressings, and grilled fish at least 3 to 4 times per week. 8. Red wine. Italian red wine consumed in moderate amounts of 1 glass per day contains resveratrol, quercetin, and anthocyanins from grape skins, compounds that activate the SIRT1 longevity gene pathway and have been documented in research to extend lifespan in multiple organisms, making daily wine with meals one of the most scientifically interesting cultural practices in longevity research. Wine has been produced in Italy for over 3,500 years. The Italian concept of un bicchiere di vino a tavola, 1 glass of wine at the table with food, is a cultural practice embedded across all regions and consistently identified by longevity researchers as one of the shared dietary habits of the longest-lived Italian communities, particularly in Sardinia and Cilento. Research from Harvard Medical School documented that resveratrol activates the SIRT1 longevity gene. Studies in JAMA documented a 34% reduction in all-cause mortality among moderate wine drinkers compared to abstainers in a large Italian cohort study. Choose Italian red wines from high polyphenol varieties including Aglianico, Sagrantino, Nero d'Avola, and Barbera, which have among the highest resveratrol concentrations of any wine grapes. 9. Garlic. Garlic contains allicin, S-allylcysteine, and dozens of sulfur compounds that reduce blood pressure, lower cholesterol, inhibit pathogen growth, and have documented anti-cancer and anti-aging activity, in a food that has been used medicinally in Italy since before Roman times, and remains one of the most researched functional foods in the world. Garlic has been cultivated and used medicinally in Italy for at least 3,000 years. Ancient Roman soldiers ate garlic to build strength and resist infection. Italian regional cooking from Piedmontese bagna cauda to Sicilian aglio e olio is built on garlic as a foundational flavor and health ingredient. Research in the Journal of Nutrition confirmed that garlic consumption reduces LDL cholesterol, total cholesterol, and blood pressure in multiple clinical trials. Studies from Penn State University documented that aged garlic extract significantly reduces arterial stiffness, a key biomarker of cardiovascular aging, in a randomized controlled trial. Eat 2 to 3 cloves of garlic daily, raw or lightly cooked. Crush or chop garlic and let it rest for 10 minutes before cooking, allowing the enzyme alliinase to produce allicin before heat deactivates it. 10. Broccoli rabe. Broccoli rabe, called rapini in Italian, contains glucosinolates that the body converts to sulforaphane, one of the most potent anti-cancer and anti-aging compounds in any food, alongside high concentrations of vitamin K, folate, and iron that make it a nutritional powerhouse consumed across southern Italy daily as a matter of cultural habit. Broccoli rabe has been a staple vegetable of southern Italian cooking for centuries, particularly in Puglia, Campania, and Calabria. The classic dish orecchiette con le cime di rapa, pasta with broccoli rabe from Puglia, has been eaten in the region for generations and reflects the consistent daily exposure to this highly medicinal vegetable that characterizes traditional southern Italian diets. Research from Johns Hopkins University confirmed that sulforaphane activates the NRF2 gene pathway, triggering the body's own antioxidant enzyme production at levels that dietary antioxidants alone cannot achieve. Studies documented anti-cancer effects in breast, prostate, and colon cancer cell lines. Eat broccoli rabe at least twice per week. Blanch in boiling salted water for 2 minutes before sautéing in olive oil with garlic and red pepper flakes, the classic Italian preparation. Pair with pasta, beans, or sausage in traditional Italian fashion. 11. Cannellini beans. Cannellini beans appear in classic Italian dishes from ribollita and pasta e fagioli to simple soups, providing the highest quality plant protein of any commonly eaten legume, plus resistant starch that feeds beneficial gut bacteria whose health is now understood to be central to inflammation control, immune function, and healthy aging across the lifespan. Beans have been a cornerstone of Italian peasant cooking for centuries, eaten daily across central and southern Italy, and documented in medieval agricultural and culinary records as a primary protein source for rural communities. The traditional Italian minestra of beans, greens, and olive oil represents one of the most nutritionally complete and anti-inflammatory meal patterns researchers have identified in the study of Mediterranean dietary traditions. Research in The Lancet documented that legume consumption is one of the most consistent predictors of longevity across diverse populations worldwide, with every additional 20 grams of legumes per day associated with an 8% reduction in all-cause mortality. Eat cannellini beans at least 4 times per week in traditional Italian preparations, in soups with rosemary and garlic, mashed and spread on toast with olive oil, or simply dressed with excellent olive oil, fresh herbs, and a squeeze of lemon. 12. Fresh figs. Fresh figs contain some of the highest polyphenol concentrations of any commonly eaten fresh fruit, plus prebiotic fiber, potassium, calcium, and the enzyme phycin, in a food eaten in Italy since before recorded history, whose anti-inflammatory and gut-supporting properties are now confirmed in modern nutritional research. Figs have been cultivated in Italy and the Mediterranean for over 10,000 years, making them one of the earliest foods humans deliberately propagated. Ancient Romans considered figs so important that cutting down a fig tree was punishable by law. The practice of eating fresh figs with prosciutto, fresh cheese, or walnuts represents centuries of Italian culinary wisdom that science now recognizes as optimal nutrient pairing. Research in plant foods for human nutrition confirmed that figs contain significant concentrations of polyphenols, including chlorogenic acid, catechins, and lutein, with antioxidant activity comparable to many commercial dietary supplements. Studies also documented that fig leaf extract improves insulin sensitivity and reduces post-meal blood glucose spikes. Eat fresh figs in season from August through October. Serve with ricotta or fresh mozzarella and a drizzle of honey as a traditional Italian antipasto. 13. Fresh basil. Fresh basil contains rosmarinic acid, eugenol, and linalool, compounds with documented anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial, and adaptogenic properties that have been used medicinally in Italy since ancient times and are now studied as neuroprotective and anti-aging agents in modern pharmacological research. Basil has been cultivated in Italy and the Mediterranean since at least the 4th century BCE, appearing in ancient texts as both culinary herb and medicinal plant. The Ligurian pesto tradition uses basil in extraordinary quantities relative to most cuisines, representing one of the highest regular basil consumption traditions in the world and providing consistent daily exposure to its active compounds. Research in the Journal of Traditional and Complementary Medicine confirmed that basil's primary compounds inhibit the growth of antibiotic-resistant bacteria and reduce the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines. Studies documented that rosmarinic acid specifically inhibits the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, the form most implicated in cardiovascular aging. Add fresh basil generously to your daily cooking. Make traditional Ligurian pesto and use it on pasta, bread, and in soups. Add fresh basil to tomato salads, pizza, and bruschetta. 14. Fennel. Fennel contains anethole, a compound documented to have anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and estrogenic activity, plus fiber, potassium, vitamin C, and folate, making it one of the most nutritionally complete and medicinally active vegetables in the traditional Italian diet, eaten from antipasto to digestivo across every region of the country. Fennel has been cultivated and used medicinally in Italy since ancient Rome, where it was grown in the imperial gardens and prescribed by physicians for digestive complaints, menstrual disorders, and eye conditions. The Florentine tradition of serving raw fennel at the end of a meal as a palate cleanser dates to the Renaissance and reflects centuries of practical understanding that fennel supports digestion and reduces post-meal inflammation. Research in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that anethole has documented anti-inflammatory activity comparable to pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory drugs in cellular studies. Research also confirmed that fennel contains phytoestrogens that may reduce menopause symptoms in clinical studies. Eat fresh fennel bulb at least twice per week. Shave raw fennel thin and dress with olive oil and lemon as a traditional Italian salad, or braise halves in white wine and olive oil until caramelized. 15. Anchovies. Anchovies provide an extraordinary concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and calcium, alongside glutamate richness that makes them one of the most flavorful and most nutritionally dense ingredients in the entire Italian pantry. Used as a dissolving flavor base in dozens of classic Italian sauces without tasting fishy in the finished dish. Anchovies have been a staple of Italian coastal cuisine and food preservation for over 2,000 years. The ancient Roman condiment garum was made primarily from fermented anchovies and was traded across the empire as a luxury flavoring. The tradition of salt-curing anchovies, still practiced in artisanal facilities in Sicily, Campania, and Liguria, preserves and concentrates their nutritional benefits for year-round use. Research from Harvard School of Public Health documented that people with the highest omega-3 blood levels have measurably longer telomeres, chromosomal structures that shorten with age and serve as a primary biomarker of biological aging. Studies from the University of Graz documented that regular consumption of small, oily fish reduces all-cause mortality by 12 to 15% in longitudinal studies. Add 2 to 4 anchovy fillets to olive oil at the start of any pasta sauce, pizza, or vegetable dish, dissolving them into the oil before adding other ingredients. They contribute intense umami depth without any fishy flavor in the finished dish. 16. Aged Italian cheese. Parmigiano Reggiano and Pecorino Romano contain high concentrations of vitamin K2, calcium, bioactive peptides, and specific fatty acids produced during extended aging that have documented benefits for bone density, cardiovascular health, and cellular repair. In foods that have been aged in Italian caves and cellars for over 1,000 years, Parmigiano Reggiano has been produced under strict regional regulations in the Po Valley since at least the 12th century, with records of monastic production dating to 1254. The traditional 24-month minimum aging process develops specific bioactive compounds, including vitamin K2 in menaquinone form, the most bioavailable and cardioprotective form of vitamin K. Research in the European Journal of Nutrition documented that high vitamin K2 intake is associated with 57% reduced risk of cardiac mortality. Studies from Maastricht University confirmed that vitamin K2 activates osteocalcin for bone mineral deposition, while simultaneously preventing arterial calcification, a dual function no other nutrient achieves. Eat a small portion of aged Parmigiano Reggiano or Pecorino Romano daily. Grate over pasta, soups, and vegetables in traditional Italian quantities. Eat a few flakes alone with walnuts as an Italian antipasto. 17. Chestnuts. Chestnuts are the low-glycemic, starch-rich nut that sustained rural Italian mountain communities through centuries of winter food scarcity. And modern research has confirmed that they contain unique tannins, gallic acid, and ellagic acid with documented anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and blood sugar stabilizing properties that make them an underappreciated anti-aging superfood. Chestnuts have been a staple food in mountainous central and northern Italy since prehistoric times. Before the widespread adoption of corn in the 18th century, chestnut flour was the primary carbohydrate source for communities in the Apennine and Alpine regions. The Tuscan preparation castagnaccio, a dense cake made with chestnut flour, olive oil, rosemary, and pine nuts represents centuries of culinary adaptation that produced one of the most anti-inflammatory baked goods in any traditional cuisine. Research in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that chestnuts have a glycemic index of approximately 54 compared to 85 for white bread. Studies also documented that chestnut tannins inhibit cancer cell growth in laboratory conditions. Eat roasted chestnuts in fall and winter in the Italian tradition. Add chestnut flour to pancakes, bread, and pasta for a nutty, slightly sweet flavor and significantly lower glycemic impact than wheat flour. 18. Porcini mushrooms. Porcini mushrooms contain ergothioneine and beta-glucans, compounds now among the most studied anti-aging molecules in nutritional research, with ergothioneine specifically described by University of Singapore researchers as a longevity vitamin, whose levels in blood directly correlate with lifespan across diverse human populations worldwide. Porcini mushrooms have been harvested from Italian forests since ancient times, and the Italian tradition of autumn mushroom foraging, il fungo, is a deeply embedded cultural practice across northern and central Italy. Italians dry porcini in sun and slice them paper-thin for use in risottos, sauces, and soups through winter, concentrating the flavor and nutrients in ways that make dried porcini one of the most nutritionally dense food ingredients per gram in any pantry. Research from the University of Singapore, published in 2021, documented that people with higher ergothioneine blood levels had significantly lower rates of age-related cognitive decline, cardiovascular disease, and all-cause mortality. Studies also confirmed that beta-glucans from mushrooms activate natural killer cells and macrophages in the immune system. Eat mushrooms, including dried porcini, at least 3 to 4 times per week. Rehydrate dried porcini in warm water and add both the mushrooms and the soaking liquid to risottos and pasta sauces. 19. Dandelion greens. Dandelion greens, called tarassaco or cicoria in Italian, contain chicharic acid, taraxacin, and luteolin at concentrations that support liver function, reduce systemic inflammation, and provide beta-carotene and vitamin K in forms documented to protect against cardiovascular aging, in a food traditional Italians have foraged and eaten as a health tonic for centuries. Dandelion greens have been eaten as food and medicine across Italy since at least medieval times, when herbalists prescribed them for liver complaints, digestive disorders, and skin conditions. In Rome, dandelion greens sold as cicoria are still served in traditional trattori, blanched and dressed with olive oil and garlic, as a classic side dish that has appeared on Roman tables for generations without interruption. Research in evidence-based complementary and alternative medicine confirmed that dandelion extract significantly reduces the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines, including TNF-alpha and IL-6. Studies documented that taraxacin, the primary bitter compound, stimulates bile production and liver enzyme activity that supports detoxification processes declining with age. Eat dandelion greens at least twice per week. Purchase from natural food stores or Italian markets, or harvest young leaves from your own pesticide-free lawn in spring. Blanch briefly to reduce bitterness, then sauté in olive oil with garlic and red pepper flakes. 20. Lemon. Italian lemons, particularly the enormous Amalfi Coast and Sicilian varieties, contain limonene, hesperidin, and iriocitrin in concentrations significantly higher than standard supermarket lemons, with documented anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, and cardiovascular protective properties that make the Italian habit of using generous quantities of fresh lemon across cooking one of the most accessible anti-aging habits you can adopt. Lemon cultivation in Italy has centered on the Amalfi Coast and Sicily for over 1,000 years, and the Italian relationship with the lemon extends far beyond culinary use. Limoncello is made from the outermost peel layer, where limonene concentrations are highest. The Italian tradition of squeezing lemon over grilled fish, roasted artichokes, pasta, and pizza reflects both flavor intuition and health wisdom accumulated across centuries. Research in the journal Nutrients confirmed that limonene activates liver detoxification enzyme systems and has demonstrated anti-tumor activity in animal studies. Studies from the University of Maryland Medical Center documented that hesperidin reduces blood pressure, improves arterial elasticity, and has potent anti-inflammatory effects in clinical trials. Use fresh lemon daily. Squeeze over salads, grilled vegetables, fish, and pasta instead of bottled juice. Grate zest over ricotta, pasta, and salads for the highest concentration of limonene. And there you have it, 20 Italian superfoods that have sustained some of the longest-lived populations on Earth for centuries, and that modern science is now confirming are among the most potent anti-aging foods available. From the oleocanthal in extra virgin olive oil and the lycopene in slow-cooked tomatoes to the quercetin in capers and the ergothioneine in porcini mushrooms, the Italian table is a medicine cabinet dressed as a pleasure. Subscribe to Evergreen Garden for more content every week. Give this video a thumbs up and tell us in the comments which of these 20 Italian superfoods you are already eating and which ones you are adding today. We will see you in the next one.